Hello, Assalamualaikum. Welcome back to MGT162 Fundamentals of Management. So this is the chapter 3 with the title The Nature of Decision Making. So for this chapter 3, I split it into two videos. So this is the first video. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, from this chapter, okay, there are a few learning objectives. Okay, so we hopefully that by the end of the chapter, the student will be able to define what it means by decision making, the types of decision making, the conditions when we are making the decisions, the rationale of decision making, the decision making process, and also the group decision making technique. Okay. Okay, so I've also prepared the diagram or the charts for the chapter. Okay, so basically first thing that we're going to look is the definition and then the decision making. So there are types and conditions of decision making, and then we're going to go and see how to make the decisions, the decision making process, and also about the group decision making. Okay. First, we need to know the definitions of decision making. So we can say that decision making is the process through which managers identify and resolve problems and capitalize on opportunities. So from here we can see that it's a process. Why we call it as a process? Because it have the step-by-step of all the things that we need to do first. Okay, so we have this problem, or also maybe the opportunity that the organization or the manager want to take. Okay, so when we want to solve the problems or we want to take the opportunity, we have to go through the step-by-step of how we're going to reach to the decisions. Okay, how we're going to take the opportunity. Okay, so what we need to do before we come to the conclusion, before we come up with the solutions, the decisions. Okay, also, we can say that it's the process by which a course of action is selected as the way to deal with a specific problem. So, of course, when we have the problem, we have to think about the problem. So, we have to also think about how to solve it. Okay, there are maybe more than one options, okay, or actions that we can take to solve the problem. So this is how we're gonna solve the problems, or we're gonna take the opportunities. So everything that we want to do regarding the decision, to come up with a decision making, so we have to think truly. Okay, so that's why it need to go through a process. So next is the types of decision making. So we already covered the definition. So for the types of decision making, there are two types here: program and non-program. Let's see first the program. Okay, so for program decision making, it is structured. Okay, structured meaning that since it's program, meaning that we already know the problem, we already know how to solve it. So that's why we call it as structured. Okay, because it's a repetitive decision. Okay, that can be handled by a routine approach. Since the problems or the situations is a routine, okay, routine means that it always happen. Okay, every few months it will happen, every semester the problem, the situation will happen. So that's why we call it structured. Since it's routine, we already know on how to solve it. Okay, what approach that we should take. Okay, for example, rules and regulations are used, okay, whenever we face with the problem. Okay, UiTM dress code. Okay, when the students, okay, attend the class, so they have to follow the dress code. So if the student didn't follow the dress code, okay, so we already know on how to tackle it. Okay, because it always happen. Okay, the usage of students ID, or maybe the problem when we caught student cheating. Okay, so it's always happen. So we already know on how to handle it. Okay, it's not a surprise or a new problem or situation that we never faced before. Okay, so we always face with the problem, with the situation. So of course we know how to handle it, and we're going to use the same approach. Okay. Next, we have the non-program. Okay, so it is unstructured and requires higher level management. Unstructured means that it's usually the problems, the situation is unique. okay, unusual or exceptional problem. It's a new situation, a new problem that we never faced before. Okay, non-routine decision making that occurs in response to unusual, unpredictable opportunities and threat. Okay, for example, when government decision to prevent H1N1 yang dulu-dulu, okay, but right now when the pandemic happened, okay, COVID-19 happened, so it's a very new disease that we have to cater. Okay, so they have to come up with a new solution. Okay, how to solve it, how to handle it. So we always come up with they have to think of the new solutions on how to tackle the problem. So that's why we call it as the non-program, because we never faced it before. Okay, so maybe after this, after if we already first we never faced it before, so we have to come up with a new solution, we have to think about it. But maybe in the future, if we face the same problem, so it will be routine. Okay, so we already have the solution to that problem. Okay, so for example, like this, everything that we never faced before in Malaysia. Okay, typhoon, the pandemic that are happening around the world. Okay, so everything happening which is very unique. Okay, so a unique problem need a unique solution lah. Okay, so types of conditions under decision making mean that what are the conditions? Okay, our condition when we make the decisions. Okay, mean that when we face with the situation or when we face the problems and when we want to do the decision, when we want to make the decision to solve the problem, we are actually in these conditions ourselves, in these conditions. So what are the conditions? There are 4 conditions. Okay, certainty, uncertainty, risk, and also ambiguity. So let's see. First thing is certainty. Okay, decision maker know exactly what will happen and able to predict the outcome precisely. Okay, example, when you open a fixed deposit account. Okay, so you already know when you bank in your money, okay, for the fixed deposit, how much is the return, how long you have to take it, how long you have to keep your money in the account, and so on. So the return is definite. You know how much that you will gain. Okay, for example, let's say that a farmer, okay, when he farm when he plant the paddy, okay, or anything, so he will sure, okay, paddy, of course he will get the paddy. Okay, so it's very certain. Okay, so when you are making the decision on to put your money in the fixed deposit, you know already what will you gain. When you become a farmer, you plant paddy or fruits and vegetables, you know what you will get. It's very precise, you know the outcome. Okay, so when you are making the decision, you are very certain. Okay, next we have uncertainty. Okay, a condition under which there is no full knowledge of the problem, okay, and reasonable probabilities for alternative outcomes cannot be determined, meaning that you are not very sure when you want to take the decisions. Okay, a situation in which a decision maker has neither certainty nor reasonable probability about the outcome. You are not very sure if you choose A, so what's going to happen. Okay, for example, when you involved in race, okay, you are not sure whether you're going to win or you're going to lose, what's going to happen, or it might be suddenly an accident might happen. Okay, buying insurance, okay, or gambling, so something which we didn't sure what's going to happen. Okay, it's 50-50. Or when you buy the insurance, you're not really sure what's going to happen. Do you going to gain the money, or you didn't want even taste the money, and so on. Okay, so this thing, when you are making the decision to buy the insurance, to involve in race, okay, or gambling, so you are not very sure about the outcome, okay, of what you have decided. Okay. The third one is risk. Okay, refer to future conditions that are not always known in advance because you didn't know, okay, in the future. Okay, decision maker is able to estimate the likelihood of certain outcomes based on personal experience or secondary information. Of course, when you take the decision, when you decide to do that, you can predict what's going to happen in the future, okay, based on your experience or after you gather all the information you read from somewhere. So if you do this is going to happen. Okay, however, some information, okay, of course is available, but it is not enough to answer all questions about the outcomes. Okay, for example, investment, you know that when you invest in a market share, okay, so the chances will be whether you gain profit or you might lose, okay, because of some unprecedented event that might happen. Okay, when you buy a variable interest rate, because it involves everything that is very risky, that it will many factors can affect your investment. Okay, like when there's pandemic or economic downturn and so on. For example, like when you decided to go for this skydive, okay, I think that when you do this, is yes, of course, maybe some people find it is interesting, but of course, you are taking the risk because it's such a dangerous activity. So of course, it's risky for you because of course we know what going to happen and all that from our reading, from our experience. But sometimes, like I said, unprecedented events might happen that we didn't know. Okay, so you are taking risk in everything that you decide here. Okay. The next one is ambiguity. Okay, the goals to be achieved or problem to be solved is unclear. For of course, first thing is you are not very clear about the problem. What is actually the problem? Okay, so when this thing happen, okay, the alternative are difficult to define. The alternative is the options or solutions, okay, actions that you can take. Okay? And information about the outcomes is not available, so you cannot research anywhere. You don't have experience facing the problems, okay, on how to what are the actions, what you need to do, and so on. Okay, for example, like choosing a course, okay, or treatment for a disease. Okay, treatment for a disease, like the doctor can suggest you these are the plan, this is the option for you to take on, and so on. But since that sometimes maybe the disease is something new, not many people have it, okay, so that even though we have the cure, okay, the treatment, but sometimes maybe the body, our body is different from other people's body, so maybe we react differently from other people. Okay, so when you want to collect the information, you want to survey, research, and so on, so you don't have enough of the information for you to decide on what to do. Okay, and of course, if you don't know exactly the problem, you are not very sure about the problem, this will make it more difficult for you to solve the problem because you didn't know the option and so on. Okay, for example, like when you taking the course, okay, choosing the course for your study, to further your study, you can ask other people, you can ask your friends, you can ask many experienced people, expert people for that one. But since you are not the one who you didn't have the experience, so you'll find it's very hard and you didn't know whether you can take it, is it suitable for you or not. Okay, so that's it for the first video. We're going to continue with the second video after this. Thank you so much.